Arsenal's title hopes took a big blow yesterday in the draw at Stamford Bridge. Are we still in the title race? Yes, I think there's plenty of optimism going forward when you look at the teams that we've played so far. Villa away, Chelsea away, Spurs away, City away, even Newcastle away last weekend. So, when you look at other teams, I think Arteta touched on this obviously in a press conference a couple weeks ago. you know, Given where Liverpool are, and full credit to them, obviously they're playing really, really well under their new manager. I think not many people probably saw them in that position. Obviously, Manchester City performing well below their normal expectations. I mean, 4 losses in a row. Pep Guardiola has never faced 4 losses in a row in his entire career. So, given that, you can't take anything away from Arne Slot and his Liverpool team and where they are. But 9 points at this stage, 11 played. When you're behind that many points, it's difficult. But again, I go back to who we've played. Excuse me, and as Mikel touched on in his press conference before, no one else has had this sort of run of difficult games. I think, and all things considered, I think personally we've done a pretty decent job at picking up points. Obviously it's disappointing when you're conceding how we did against Man City, with the 10 men and being on top. I think the better team overall, better team yesterday as well, I think. But, when you look at it, the grand scheme of things, being the better team in a draw or a loss, is not going to get you what you need to get over the line and win a title. So, having said all that, I think yesterday, arguably our best starting 11. Obviously, you've got Odegaard, who's just come back from 6 weeks out. I guess closer to 2 months, really, if you think about it. So he went 95 plus minutes yesterday. Was really, really phenomenal. 4 chances created, more than anyone else in the game. And again, like I said, that's the first game back that he started. Of course, at Inter had like a 10-minute cameo, whatever it is. So clearly not up to scuff yet. Obviously, Odegaard is probably our most important player, regardless of whether or not he is our captain. So you have to consider that. Saka clearly nursing an injury, as he has been for however long. Declan Rice played 45 minutes plus with a broken toe, we suspect. And, like I said earlier, all in all, I think we were the better team. But again, when you're this far behind first place, 9 points, even behind Chelsea, who are in third place and found themselves a very, very good run of form this year. Obviously, credit to their coach as well and the football that they're playing. But, I think for a team that's spent over $1 billion in, just under 3 years, they've got 300 million pounds of players on the bench. I think we played just fine away from home and could have won. Mikel touched in his press conference about the sort of lapse of judgment. Honestly, when Pedro Neto struck that ball yesterday, you knew it was gonna. It was kind of like that Odegaard goal away at Tottenham a couple years ago. Just the space, and it was a rocket. I mean, there's no saving that really. As good as David Raya is, I don't think any keeper is getting low that fast to save it. So really good goal, but shouldn't have that space. Mikel touched on that in the press conference after the game. A lot of people blaming Thomas Partey. I mentioned it yesterday during the game. It seems like when he's at right back, he of course you're asked to do different things as opposed to being in the midfield, but it's almost like he's playing better at right back because the expectation is play the pass when you can, but your job is to defend. And I thought he played very well against Newcastle at right back, and he seriously has played very well all season. This one lapse of judgment, I'm not quite sure what you want to call it or who you want to blame it on. Pretty fair to say, I think Thomas Partey was the only one really not marking anybody, could have stepped up. But again, the shot itself, Neto, it was a very, very good goal, unstoppable in my opinion. So, look, Mikel Merino, a super, super good good game yesterday. That's a very, very good player we have in Mikel Merino. I think just kind of getting up to snuff with, the way we want to play. And again, you have to remember he came here injured. He's only had a couple run of games, I think maybe 2 or 3 starts. Mikel, obviously a very, very good player. Merino, I think it's a good positive to look at from the game yesterday. In my opinion, probably his best game so far. And all the people who were coming at him, and these are the same people who got on Odegaard and who constantly get on a lot of our players to say they're not good enough. It's the same people who want Ben White benched, and just to play Timber there when Calafiori is fit. Look, the in the grand scheme of things, we've got options almost everywhere. Obviously, the forward situation, left wing and right wing especially, is kind of a disaster. You know, speaking of that, this is not me calling him this, but Martinelli yesterday, obviously I know he scored the goal. I thought he was decent yesterday. The goal he scored was very, very good. It was a smart finish. I think the first chance he had, I mean, I'm telling you now, a world-class player is going to bury that 9 times out of 10, and there was no conviction in it. He just seems to be lacking confidence, and at a certain point you have to ask yourself, is he going to get this confidence back? Is he a confident player in general? I think you need a player who's direct and fast and strong. I think we need more from Martinelli and more from that left wing position. And in all honesty, Martinelli is not a world-class player. I mean, he's not a world-class player. People can argue and say what they want, but that's my opinion. I think it's pretty obvious. Again, like I said, yes, he scored yesterday, but I do think we need more from him. I think we need more from that position, and hopefully in January we go in and maybe get a player in, because we are crying out for a forward player to change the game. I know a player like Alexis Sanchez is sort of I'm not going to say once in a lifetime player, but very hard to replace a player like that. But when you look at what he brought, just chaos. It's kind of what Gabby Jesus brought when he first arrived here. This chaotic, striker that he kind of plays on the left wing. Obviously, he can play on the right as well, but his best position is that number 9, and sort of hold the ball up, tricky dribbles. Maybe not as quick in his sprint, but certainly fast paced when it comes to dribbling and moving and playing concise 1-2 balls when you're in the opposing box. But look, even Jesus, I mean, he can clearly be upgraded on. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And speaking of patience, like I said with Mourinho earlier, I've sort of run out of patience with Gabby Jesus, and I don't know if Mikel feels the same way. I mean, clearly Havertz is the first choice to be our striker, but he's a much more dominating figure. Obviously I'm not going to get into the whole duels thing, but clearly the game plan is different when you have Havertz up front than Jesus. And again, I have to ask, what can we do in this January window to make this team better, to go on a run? Because it's all well and good when you've done a decent job at picking up points, playing all these teams away that you have, like I mentioned already, but we lost to Bournemouth. Fair play to them. They've also beat Man City. Played very, very well against us, you have to say, and you can't afford to keep dropping points, because I'll tell you what, if Liverpool win the league this year with Arne Slot's first year in charge, you'll never hear the end of it. You really, really won't hear the end of it. It'll be Mikel out this, Mikel this, and it's going to be a complete disaster. And it's very possible. I mean, look at how they're playing. It's very, very possible. Now, just to touch on Michael Oliver yesterday, this thing with David Coote has come out today. I'll probably make a video about that tomorrow or maybe later on today. But as far as I'm concerned, yesterday he had a very poor game. And again, Michael Oliver, very, very poor game from him. So extremely bizarre bookings. I mean, giving Benjamin White a yellow card for Pedro Neto falling over on himself. I mean, I'm telling you, there was zero contact. Jackson was diving, blatant dives, very, very sad. Caicedo could have been 3-4 yellow cards. I mean, what constitutes a yellow card? Because now we're hearing, what's his face there, PGMOL's best friend, Mike Dean, saying, he was asked why, I think Levi Colwell wasn't booked for his first challenge. He said, everyone gets one. The first one is free. And you know what? If he was already booked for that, he wouldn't have dared challenge Saka like he did, which eventually got him booked. So, the referees, I've said it time and time again, they're constantly tricked by players, the diving and the embellishment. The players don't trust the referee to make the correct decision, so they over-embellish, and they dive, and they flop, and they wave their arms, and they scream. And it's so sad and so extremely boring to watch, and frustrating, obviously, when you're watching these players trick you and trick the referee right in front of your eyes. Happens every week, happens with every team and every player, every referee. I've said it many times before, they just don't trust the referee to make the correct call. So look, this is a long one for me. Get your comments in down below. Hit me up on X with your thoughts. What are we doing after the international break? We've got players going away. Odegaard supposedly called up. Saka and Rice supposedly pulled out of the squad, although Saka traveled today to go meet up with the England squad. So again, let me know your thoughts, guys, and thanks very much for watching. If you made it this far, as always, I do really appreciate it, and I'll see you when I see you.